Thank you for tuning in to Androna Talks Radio, gathering as one in our sovereign truth from a galactic perspective, exploring our world with new ideas, knowledge, and a promise of a better future. Galactic discussions for galactic-minded people. Androna Talks.
Hello everyone, and thank you for listening today on Androna Talks. Today my guest, Chris, and I will be having a discussion regarding this strange phenomenon that we have discovered that is happening on the 23rd of October. Now, hold on before you start saying that this is, some kind of weird theory or whatever. Just listen to all the strange things that we're seeing related to this date and how it also relates to France and even other issues, current events on the earth today. So first I want to welcome Chris. How are you?
Oh, hello, Jess. Sorry, I was on mute. How you doing, Jess? Very glad
I'm
to be
doing
here.
well. Yeah. So should we step back, and do you mind if I share a little bit of your story and how we came to discover this strange phenomenon?
No, absolutely not. I think it's important.
Okay. So you have been coming to me for a while, and we've had some private sessions, and there was something that came up where you were having issues with work. And I literally saw the soul essence of Al Capone around you, which didn't make any sense at all, other than there was a past life connection.
Right, especially knowing that we cleared that around September. We had a whole situation with my work again and Al Capone, and we cleared that whole thing in September, so there was no reason to have him back.
And you had an issue with him taking money from you.
Yeah.
A bad business
money
deal.
and
You done some work and he didn't want to pay.
Yeah.
And so it became a big issue, and people have free will, they make their decisions. The problem is this man was being guided by this energy, and so you wonder, well, how in the world does this open up to anything? And so I thought, I kind of thought, well, this is kind of weird or whatever. I didn't think anything of it. So that happened around August, September, right? We had some discussions regarding it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, recently, there was a reason for me to travel to Georgia. I went to Georgia, and in a town called Marietta, and I heard of a story. And immediately, I knew that was you, Chris. And I asked my guides, I said, well, what does this have to do with Chris? And they showed me that he was a young child. He was affected by this energy that was a captain that he had seen in a restaurant of some sort. And I won't go into details on it, but anyhow, I think it was just like one of these really weird things. And I said, well, how did he get there? And they said, well, they stepped him back to October 23rd and then brought him here 12 years ago in a different dynamic, and then brought him back up. And I'm like, well, that didn't even make any sense. And then, right? And
no, I couldn't understand myself. How I was like, okay, how is it? Well, I guess they can work with times and send you back in time and bring you back and reconnect you to a different timeline, I guess.
Well, there's super soldier events that happen where they take you in this 20-year event, and then they take you and they bring you somewhere and they take you back. And then there's these other things called time slips, where somehow you're entangled in something, it doesn't make any sense. And there are certain characters that don't belong here. Technically, I'll say it like this: they're more like they're not necessarily 100% human, or they have some other type of walk-in or something with them that allows them to do things that we typically can't do. So as we're looking at this, I'm hearing more and more about the history, and then I find out that Al Capone was there. Al Capone, Bugsy Malone, was in Atlanta. Now that predates the 12 years, of course. But is there some kind of weird quantum entanglement that was happening? So then we started to look at it, and then I started thinking, well, it came to me, why don't we take a look at what's going on in October 23rd throughout history? And so, of course, Chris is also very, very connected he's originally from Belgium, but connected to what's going on with the Yellow Vests in France. We started looking at it, and we were thinking, all right, so here are the issues. It's time travel, his odd entanglement with Al Capone, and very likely had some kind of issues with him where it returned again. And then there's what's going on in France right now. So that's when we started looking at the kind of a historical overview of some of the important things that happened on the day of October 23rd. So you see, October 23rd, 1956, Hungary protests against the Soviet rule. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these links in so you guys can look over everything that I'm bringing up here. There was a suffrage movement that started on October 23rd. U.S. prohibition laws, October 23rd. And by the way, Al Capone also was very involved with prohibition because he was bootlegging moonshine and some other things. That's what he was doing in Georgia. World War II, October 23rd, 1942, French workers. The Nazis are threatening French skilled workers with violence against their families if they do not come forward to work for Germany's war industry. I thought that was interesting. Okay, so then we saw October 23rd, 1948, French martial law. French martial law, 1948? That seems to parallel right now.
I know, right?
France is moving closer to martial law following the communist union leaders calling for a general strike on Monday. The state has called up 50,000 troops. The state called up 50,000 troops to try to maintain law and order in the strike-torn coal fields as more violence erupts and 2 more miners were killed yesterday. That alone, that right there was strange.
Such a parallel with what's going on here. I mean, yeah, you're right.
October 23rd, 1950, Yugoslavia. Marshal Tito, the Yugoslavian leader who is defying the communist regime, also asked the U.S. and U.K. to aid to help with the drought-stricken country where many are facing starvation. There's the issue of starvation and government oppression. USA had a big earthquake in 1955 on October 23rd. Here's something interesting. England's TV show Doctor Who, which is about time travel, a British science fiction television program, began on October 23rd, 1963. Here's something else that I thought was strange. October 23rd, 1973, USA gas prices increase. What was one of the issues in France?
Yeah, the starting point was the gas price. Yeah, the
gas
increase
price.
of the gas price.
And also on October 23rd was the USA Watergate incident with President Nixon.
Yep. Removing of one of the leaders. Yep. Leader of the country. Also a parallel with what's going on in France here. Then you have the one with Napoleon.
Yeah, so let's see, the one with Napoleon, I mean, because there's so much in here. It's like crazy, you know. There's one here for October 2007, October 23rd, wildfires in San Diego. We know what we've gone through with all the wildfires. Here's the issue with unlawful sex with an underage child with Roman Polanski, Switzerland's Roman Polanski extradition request, October 23rd. Earthquake in Turkey. Polish president exhumed because they don't believe that it's his body from a plane crash that happens in 2012. Incident with IRA decommissioning weapons. USA creates the iPod, 2001. The IRA incident was 2001. The presidential election with the swing states in 2004 between
Bush and Kerry.
Bush and Kerry, yep. Barack Obama considers running for office, 2006. So then I have another whole group of, where did that go? Oh, I think I provided the link somewhere. I lost it. There was another whole list that I had of historical events. Let's see if this brings it up. Yeah, here it is. Okay. So we have you said that that had nothing to do with it, but in the year 585, a Burgundy king, Guthrum, opens the Synod of Macon. It almost sounds like Macron, but that's the city, Mastico, a city in France.
Yeah,
a village
absolutely.
in France.
Yep. Sorry, I was sneezing.
Okay. And let's see, there was something here with, I mean, there is so much here. Napoleon, 1812, the coup d'etat, failed coup against Emperor Napoleon on that day.
That is the first one I saw when you sent me the link for the 23rd of October. And when I saw that one, I mean, I had really shivers in my spine because Napoleon, we know that Napoleon and Macron are, both strongly connected to Dionysus. So the fact that they tried to have a coup against against Napoleon, and then that the Yellow Vest started literally 3 days after the 23rd of October, that lady Jacqueline Moreau started her Facebook announcement that started that whole Yellow Vest protest a few weeks later. On the 23rd of October, which is 3 days before that Jacqueline Moreau sent that Facebook that started the whole thing, the French government voted a law against the Black Blocs, which is kind of an Antifa group in France, dressed in black, voted a law against protester violence. That was pretty much setting up the whole thing before even 3 days later that lady started that Facebook, live. That 3-4 days later started the whole movement, and on the 17th of November started the first protest of the Yellow Vest. Now it's all connected to the gas price that we saw on another year in the US, starvation. I mean, now we talk about the one in 42 that the two French people got arrested because they didn't work. They didn't want to work for the Nazis. All that brings us also to the German. You haven't talked about that yet, right? The German travelers. I don't know if you want to.
So I'm looking, I just happened to be looking checking what's going on YouTube, and there's this article. I'm completely drawn to this article, and I'm like, that is really strange. And I just thought I'd look at it, and there again was the date, and it's called Death Valley Germans. I believe it happened in 1996. 4 Germans tourists disappeared in Death Valley National Park, leaving behind only their car. And supposedly it happened on October 23rd. I don't see the date here. I just want to make sure, but I'm pretty sure that they said it was October 23rd. And I thought, well, that was weird, because here we go back to the desert again. I was talking about Roosevelt and his interest in deserts, in the Gobi Desert, during the discussion we had regarding the Super Soldier Report. And now we're looking at another desert event, and these people sort of, no one could find them. Still, the children are not fully identified. It seems to have a very, very strange story to it. And, of course, I've talked about time-traveling Nazis. So is it possible that some of these deserts, or maybe all of the deserts, have these portals that people are looking for? But, clearly it's a dangerous portal if you don't know what you're doing, because it is, in Death Valley. I think the temperature is extraordinarily high, probably just respiratory issues and dehydration and some other things could really, you don't know what you're doing. So it could be that these people just perished there, and I'm talking randomly about this story, or it could be that there was a portal there. There is a military base in that location. They did find personal belongings that were left behind. I found some bones of the adults, or they believe it's the adults, but the children, they weren't sure if the bones belonged to them. So it's a perplexing story. And what was the military base? Was called the China or something like that?
The China Navy base or something like that, which is in the middle of the desert. Strange. I don't know.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and I'm not encouraging people, please don't go out into the desert to try to figure out if there's a portal, or if you're going to go somewhere. There's a lot of places on the earth that have time slips, or jump gates and different things that I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things that what are you going to say? This is your life. I mean, this stuff is very interesting, but I wouldn't dabble with it too much. It's interesting to observe it, but in your case, Chris, this wasn't a pleasant experience, having this sort of strange anomaly happening and entanglement that brought you into a strange scenario that created a lot of problems.
No, it was not pleasant at all last weekend. It was it was really rough, because literally I could feel over every night I had some dreams, and we discovered it was connected to Michael at the time, and it was building up when I was trapped in different realities, and it was a build up going on. But when you left on on a Friday, that day and the whole weekend, I felt so off. I didn't feel at all anchored. I felt literally in a different space, and it was so hard for me to focus on anything. I felt drained and not present at all. I had a hard time to focus on anything. So when we discovered that in the session, that while you were over there, I know you texted me that situation about that woman that had a kid that went to the bathroom in Marietta, in that Hemingway hotel, and obviously saw a captain there from the Civil War, like a ghost. The name of that woman was the name of my partner. So we quickly realized that there was definitely a connection there, but we had no idea where it would lead. It's only in the session, I guess, we discovered. And I was a little shocked about the session. I still have to admit, I tried to understand how could they bring me maybe 2 days before back into 12 years earlier on the 23rd of October. And then, I mean, and it's pretty much brought back all the Al Capone situation, that whole, I would say it's almost like a whole sphere of things that we cleared before was brought back. I felt like reconnected to it, and I almost felt the emotions, the feelings, the thoughts that weekend was the exact same I had when in September, we started to work on that whole Al Capone situation and the fact that everything was going to crap in my life, work, my car, I mean, everything, blockage left and right. So while in November things got better, suddenly out of nowhere, blockages and the same feeling as in September. So I couldn't understand how it was. So when we start looking into that 23rd of October and the fact that it brought me back in time and brought me back into the present, but pretty much reconnected to a specific, I would say pretty much a macro reality, or it was very strange for me. It's very hard to explain the feeling. It's something you have to experience. I don't wish anybody to experience that, but it was one of the weirdest things I've experienced. And I have experienced a lot of weird stuff this last year, you can attest, Jess, but that was one of the weirdest ones.
Well, what happens is, I've heard Andrew Brissaglio talk about this, how he was brought in the wrong time in the wrong place. Hold on a minute.
Yeah, and I realized also the dreams I had in that weekend, it was connected to Paris and protests in Paris. I could see it from the ground and from above in the same time, and I could see 5 factions that were fighting each other, and there were cyborgs in these factions, there were super soldiers of different factions, they were all fighting in the midst and in the middle of these protests between, these fight between the yellow protest and the police. And it was just different reality happening in the same time. Now we discovered that was not the reality of France, but that was part of that macro reality. I was trapped in, connected to the 23rd of October.
You kept on having dreams in France, like as if you were there over and over again. And that's why I said, well, I think that we could talk about this stuff privately. What is the advantage of bringing it to the public? Believe it or not, it's kind of a collective thing. When people start coming in and looking at it, sometimes people have some really brilliant comments afterwards. It's not easy to figure this stuff out, but some people can bring in like I have people send me little historical stuff every now and then, and adding on to my conversation. And I love that, because first of all, you're engaged, but you're also a part of this. You're also in this whole amazing, interconnected field of experience that we're all going through. We are sort of problem solving, dissecting things in a way as they come about, and kind of revealing the information that needs to be revealed that assists the masses, it assists everyone, because there comes to a point of realization and conclusion. Now, for the people that go through these experiences, these time slips, or they're kind of off their timeline a bit, like Andrew Brissaglio, I remember him talking about how he was supposed to be at college at a certain time, and something wasn't quite right, and it just never really fully clicked the way it was supposed to, where it was supposed to lead up to the point where he becomes the president. Something else happened along the way, and there are other players in this. Now I'm just going to add something else that I haven't talked to you about, Chris, is I met someone who looked identical, I mean really, really, really close to Al Capone. Talked to him twice, and then never saw him again.
Huh.
Is he,
Yeah.
if people talk about these, it's possible that someone looks like someone, or they had incarnated or whatever. And I told him, and I said, do you know you look exactly like Al Capone? And he just smiled.
Yeah, well, it might be that, or it might be him
Right.
manifesting himself for
It's a
traveling in
game.
time.
It feels like the universe is playing a game at times. And I get that when I'm talking to Peter, it's just this weird, like, oh, here we go, you know? And people could say I'm dramatic or reading into it or whatever, but I honestly, I'm floored myself, and there's no way that I can coordinate this kind of stuff and put it together. So I've
No.
always talked about the time traveling Nazis, right?
Yeah.
All right, so here's the last piece of information that came together. I'm sure that there's more, but this is a good one.
Heard the plane. Yeah.
Yeah, on October 23rd, there is an article. And like I said, I'm going to post all of these articles so you can read them. They'll be linked in. All right. Here's weird news. Wormhole, ? Nazi-marked plane crashes onto California freeway and burst into flames. Underneath it says a vintage aircraft with some of the markings of Nazis' German Luftwaffe crashed onto the 101 freeway in Agora Hills, California on Tuesday and burst into flames. No one was injured. Despite the use of the black and white cross, the Luftwaffe's black and white cross, the plane was not a World War II aircraft from Germany, but rather a vintage North American AT-6 SNJ trainer aircraft. The plane belonged to Condor Squadron, a nonprofit organization which flies World War II themed planes over parades, celebrations, memorials, and mock dogfights. He said, the flyer, I picked a spot on the freeway where I knew that there was a big section of cars that weren't there, said pilot Rob Sandberg. His name's Sand. It's like Kara Sandman or something, right?
Yeah.
Told KABC. The engine completely failed. I was able to fortunately not hurt anybody other than the airplane. That happened on October 23rd. And what was the year? I believe that happened this year, 2018.
It's interesting you said Sandberg. Sandberg. It's almost like I can translate as sand hill, like a hill of sand, like a dune.
Mm-hmm. There's dune.
Right?
There's the word dune.
Dune
Okay.
and sand, and then we know how sand is used also for AI, for a lot of different things. I mean, there's so much information in there.
Yeah.
There's no coincidence. 2
weird.
years ago, I would have told you, oh my gosh, that's the fruit of your imagination, Jess. After a year spending time with you guys, work on session and all that. Wow. Yeah, I see differently.
Yeah, I mean, even the comments, people said, Nazi plane crashes and burns on a California highway. Yep, sounds about right.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about the Germans, right, in Death Valley, Germans. So this California and then California again. And we know a lot's been happening in California.
But have you seen there is like common denominator between all the stories on the 23rd of October? You had, of course, the California wildfires. You had here Californian highway with a German plane. You also have, I guess, the Death Valley. I don't know. No, that's not California, but I guess it's the same region with the German, again, tourist. Then you have on 23rd of October, I guess, in 42, the German, now this connection between Germany and France, the French worker that supposedly, were arrested because they didn't want to work for the German industries. And then you have all these different, it's a connection between Germany, France, and then have California. And it seems so disconnected from each other. But I almost feel energetically there is a common denominator here. There is something that is so connected.
There was also a gangster by the name of John Dillinger in 1933. and his gang robbed Central National Bank in Greencastle, Indiana, and they took $75,000, which was a lot of money at that time. So you have the gangsters there. I believe he's a contemporary of Capone, but I would have to look that up again. There was something else. Oh, Women's Suffrage March. So we had a big women's march too.
That's very correct.
Right, recently, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
Wearing the cat hats and you know, kind of making a statement. That was 1915. Estimated 25,000 supporters in a women's suffrage march in New York's Fifth Avenue, led by Dr. Anna Shaw, Carrie Chapman Catt, founder of the League of Women Voters, demanding the right to vote. And we had all of these women marching again recently, past couple of years.
It seems almost like a repetition in time, like there's a bug.
A loop.
A bug in the system.
Something's
like,
not completed.
Like a scratch in the
it's
disc,
not.
You know?
Yeah, it's not able to play its way through.
No.
And you know, there, like I said, there was. I was looking at another thing about these underground railroads, or these, drilling underground in different areas. And I saw that there was one in the Netherlands that went down, I think, into Germany. And here is in October 23rd, 1853, Maastricht-Aachen Railway in Netherlands opens up. So I guess that is, the railroad goes down south from what I was told. Aachen is in Germany, or close to Germany, if I have my geography correct. There's so much.
Aachen,
First plastic surgery, 1814.
And by the way, Aachen, so just
Akhenaten,
people might not, people might not understand this because it's connected to the different sessions, but it's also where Charlemagne, Charles the Great, Charlemagne, which is the king of the Franks, had his, literally was, his kingdom was there in Aachen. And it's interesting because it's part of pretty much old Germania. We talked about that in the transmissions, right? Germania, and it's that connection between Germany and France. Also, this last week, I think was a week ago, Macron at Aachen, which is in Aix, made a treaty with Angela Merkel to pretty much give the sovereignty of France pretty much to the German, to also create a European army that will be controlled by the German, literally. That's not really clearly said, but we can see through the lines. And that France cannot make any decision without the agreement of Germany. So there is a lot of stuff happening here that seems all connected to also Germania that we talked about in the transmission. Charlemagne, Germany, now we have Holland and Aachen. I mean, people might not understand because of all the different information we had through different sessions here, but it's like my brain is going 200 miles an hour seeing all these different connections right now. It's like, wait a minute, the name of the game. You know the thing, like
the name of the game, yes, Peter says the name of the game. Yeah.
It's a game going on. All the players that are, of course, don't have the best interest of human at heart know the rules, and we, of course, it's easier for them because we didn't know the rule, right? Now we start to discover the rules.
Yeah.
We start to slowly understand how is it played. That's good for us.
It is good for us. I've been learning. I get assistance, obviously. I would like to say that I'm very bright, but I really don't want to, I can't give myself 100% the credit. I am very intuitive. I'll say that. And it's like they direct me exactly to what I need to look at to find it out. And I believe it's something that I have agreed to share the information. It's not just for me to say that I know this or that. It doesn't prove anything. What is important is that we figure this whole thing out, because we really need to not be in any more oppression in situations where there are these strongholds, where there is a lack of inequity, and where the things that we need are not at our access as they were supposed to be. That we're paying for free energy that was supposed to be ours. It's a gift from the universe. The sun is a gift. The harnessing the energy of the sun is a gift from the universe. No one has a right to charge someone for land. Nobody owns the land.
No,
It
exactly.
really is. It's something that
Yeah.
was given to humanity. And so, I mean, these are dangerous conversations. It puts me in a weird situation and uncomfortable, which was part of the reason why I was traveling. But one never knows, you know, what can open up from this. I think the key is our awareness and the way to look at things, and how it kind of develops in following the thread of knowledge, of information, the piece of information. And in my case, I actually get the breadcrumbs that I can follow through the forest, and it kind of links me to the little areas where then you get that aha moment, there it is, and can identify where the key problem is and release it. And in each one of us, we have entanglements and different things that have happened in our soul history that can be resolved. And I've had people say, well, all I had to do is just talk to you and just figure this. And I said, yes, because I can identify where the problem is, and then you can hone in on it and then resolve it. And does that solve everything? No. But that problem, yes.
That problem, yes. Yeah. No,
But
definitely.
the complexity, and then you have people like Chris who are more complex, and these are the people that they came out of nowhere, like they don't know what to do. Everything is, nothing works for them, nothing, because they got caught somewhere in something. It could be that, you know, they got into some, like I said, this weird connection, entanglement with Al Capone. Obviously, I must have had it too then. So both of us kind of worked through this a bit to disentangle ourselves from whatever he was involved with, and I don't believe he was just a typical human, in my opinion.
Yeah, and when we say entanglement, that doesn't mean that we were part of his team and doing crimes. It's just that we got energetically entangled with them. Most of the time, he was using our energy to to be able to, I would say, yeah, they were using our energy to do their crimes, or to have powers, I would say.
Yeah. And it could be that at some point we were in alliance with them, and we did participate in some of the bad
Entangled.
activity. Yeah,
Yeah,
it could be.
yeah,
And
that's
at least
possible.
we're willing to want to correct it.
Yeah, if
Whereas,
it's the
you know,
case, I don't consent, I don't agree. Shut down, install, delete.
yeah, or you know, I apologize for anything that
Yeah,
I had done.
yeah,
You have to
absolutely.
come to terms with it. I say that everyone has done something. If you
Yes.
think that you haven't done something, then you know you're lying to yourself. You're actually preventing yourself from having a better experience.
Yeah, and we have to be careful of the righteous. These are the most dangerous most of the
That's
time.
Religion got us in more trouble than it
Yeah.
helped us, because it created all these different rules and paradigms of our with our soul, having soul agreements with things we weren't supposed to, limiting ourselves, and not properly asking forgiveness, because there was always that third party, and we'd say, well, who are they to tell us that we need to ask for forgiveness? I mean, no one should tell you that's something that you need to figure out on your own. But you know, there is that kind of journey in life where you kind of have to come to terms with who you are, and the good things and the bad things. And a lot of the stuff that I talk about is very, very down to earth. It is what it is. But the question is the difference between one person who wants to learn and understand from it, and another person who wants to just dust it under the rug. You know, let's hide it. You can't hide it. There's nothing that can be hidden.
No.
It still will emerge in some way where you are tied to something, or you're locked in some way. People say, well, you're going to be damned and all this other stuff. Well, like I said, that whole duality was created by these false gods, like the Zoroastrian teaching that created this duality. And we can continue. People have a right to do whatever they want, and they want to continue along that frame of thinking. That's up to them. I know some people don't like some of the things I say because maybe I'm stepping on something that they perceive to be sacred. But I'm responsible to tell the truth. If I see something, but I don't have all of the knowledge, I recognize that, and maybe they don't want to hear it from me, and that's fine too.
Well,
But
don't we say the truth will set you free? I would add the divine truth will set you free. So from the moment you are open to see the truth about your soul journey and entanglement and might have been connected to, bad deceptions or bad choice or whatever, I mean, you can clear them. It's not always pleasant, that's true, but it's what's important to be able to ask, to remove that all layers of deception, illusion, lies, mirage are removed from within you, yourself, your soul, but also all around you, so you can really see your highest truth. It's important.
it's something that people have to come to their own self-realization. It's not anything that anyone can impose on anyone else.
No,
I'm responsible to tell the truth of what I know,
yeah.
but it's maybe worth it for people to look into things, and they can agree or disagree, and that's fine. I mean, but I am offering to provide the information to help others.
Yeah, and I think it's a personal choice. I can only talk for myself here, but for me, it was realizing a realization that, I mean, things were going so wrong all the time, over and over, repetition of bad events on bad events and nonstop blockages. That there is a point you're like, okay, I can continue like that for a long time, or I can take the bull by the horn. It's an expression, of course, and face the truth and try to find what is going on, so I can finally fix the problem and move forward, set myself free.
Set yourself free, and that's what we need to do for everyone. I think there's this whole thing. Let's talk about. You sent me a video that was very upsetting, and a young guy in his early 20s, looks like, who lost his eye.
Well,
and
yeah.
He's saying my life is over. This is from the protests. They're taking their eyes out. This is horrible.
Yes, I mean, it's, as I said a little earlier, I start to discover more and more, and the French, the Yellow Vest also discovered the truth that they couldn't understand. Nobody can understand how a country that's supposedly the country where the human rights were signed in Paris can be a country that is using so much violence on their own citizen. I mean, you would say, okay, if I tell you 12 deaths, 20 people lost their eyes, 14 people lost their hands, 5 people lost their feet because of the grenades. They were, shooting on the grenades or holding the grenades, not knowing. They thought it was tear gas, and it was like the grenades with TNT. If I tell you there is more than 1,700 wounded, like some of them, seriously wounded, within the Yellow Vest, 1,000 in the police, of course, because there are wounded people there too. 5,000 arrests, and a lot of them went to jail. You would say, if I tell you that, I don't know, Albania, Afghanistan, Turkey, people were like, oh yeah, Venezuela, yeah, that's horrible, and people would be enraged. But if I tell you it's France, then it's shocking, because that's the only country in Europe that uses so much violence on their own citizens, and obviously they don't even feel bad about it. And this is what I was explaining earlier. It seems that we talk about the 23rd of October, which I thought was interesting, connected to Napoleon, and they tried to kick him out in 2012. Now we have that same situation here with Macron, which is again, seriously connected to Napoleon, right? We'll discuss that, I guess, in the previous report. And then they voted on the 23rd of October that law against protesters' violence. The protest didn't happen yet. 3 days later, that lady started Facebook live, saying that she had to say a few words to Macron about, how unfair it is and the gas price and this and that. 3-4 days later, the movement started to organize itself, and on the 17th of November started the first protest. Now, in the meantime, there's a group called the Black Blocs, which is kind of the Antifa, which that law on the 23rd of October was pretty much directed to. That started in 1980 in Germany. It's simply people that are anti-capitalism, and they decided that the only way to fight capitalism is to pretty much fight the government. And what is representative of the government is, well, the police. They were saying that the police is protecting the wealthy and the rich, but not the people, when normally the police should protect the people. So anyway, I don't agree with their methods because they are extremely violent. Now, we discover also that quickly after the first or second weekend of protest, there were videos of some guys coming out of police cars or police trucks that you see them changing pretty much as black blocs, or these supposedly violent protesters going into the protest, starting to break stuff. And in the beginning, I couldn't understand what was the whole goal of this. There are documents saying that 9,000 policemen were infiltrating the protest from the beginning as well. So everything was pretty much orchestrated to a point where it leads to a point where now we can see through the media that's literally, the third wheel, I would say, of the government, which is working literally hand in hand with the government. They are only talking about the violence of the yellow vest. But now we start to realize that the yellow vests were not the violent people. 90% of them never ever protested in their life. They have grandpas, you have all kind of family with their kids. These guys are not professional protesters. But within these yellow vest protester, you had all these, I would say, anarchists, extreme left, right, it doesn't matter, groups, plus some police, pretty much disguised as yellow vests, that have one main mission, is pretty much destroy things, to give a bad name and discredit the yellow vest, because the government in France has a problem. This is the problem. If you have a union, you have leaders, you know who are pretty much in charge of the group, it's easy to pretty much stop that movement by arresting the leaders. Here there is no leaders. It's it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of regular citizens with no leaders, especially not that woman that did that video, because we discovered that she was working with the government in some way, shape, or form. There is no leader, so it was extremely dangerous for the government, right? If there is no face that can be a leader, you cannot arrest them and try to kill the movement before it starts. So they had pretty much the only option they had was to demonize the yellow vest movement as a violent protest. Why is it that they voted 3 weeks before the first protest? Is it an accident that they voted that law against violent protests? I don't think so. The fact that they're using, it's the only country in European country, that are using tear gas and rubber bullets and flashball, which are grenades that have TNT inside. When they explode, if you grab it in your hand thinking it's a tear gas grenade, you literally lose your hands. So the weapons, normally by law, the police in France needs to act pretty much in based on the situation going on in front of them. If you have people that are peaceful protesters, they are not allowed to use all these. It's pretty much like war weapons. That's the law in France. So they are definitely not respecting the law. Now, it is also a mistake in to think that the French police are all bad people. The riots, the anti-riot police are trained to literally not move until they receive an order. The captain is always in contact with the central room, which is like the headquarters, that is directed by the head chief of police, for example, in France, that's himself connected to the Ministry of Interior, himself connected to the president. So the president gives an order to the Ministry of Interior, right, the minister, which is Castaner. Then he gives the order to the préfet, which is the head of the police of each main, I would say, counties, pretty much. Let's say Paris in this case. He gave his order to the room saying, okay, in this case, we want, for example, you to arrest all the yellow vests 20 miles before they even arrive at the protest, since we vote a law that says that if ever we have a simple doubt that you might be a violent protester, we can arrest you. So when people are stopped by the police 20 miles before even arriving in Paris, and they found in their car yellow vest, they find, for example, saline water for the eyes when they have, the tear gas, they just put some saline water in their eyes to clean their eyes, or some paper mask for the tear gas. They consider them as, okay, so you are people that's going to be violent, you are here to create some problems, so therefore we can arrest you. These guys didn't even start anything. It reminds me of the movie with, was it with Tom Cruise, when he's part in the futuristic world of some people that pretty much see crimes before they happen and then they can arrest them?
That's the Minority Report.
Right. It's pretty much what they talk about
They
in France.
predestine, the thought of the individual, but it's not as clear as that a person could head in that direction, but then change their mind, and there's many possibilities in what they can do at that moment. So to say they're predestined of what they're going to do in the future is not ironclad. It's not 100% perfect. So yeah, that premise was a wrong one to put out there. And
people have to protect themselves. They know that normally they will first, in the beginning, they didn't declare their protest. I mean, they just went wildly. So they realize, okay, in order for us to not have to have the police, fighting against us, we're going to do things properly. We're going to go to the city hall and say, hey guys, we're going to declare a protest. We're going to start at this point. We're going to walk around. That's the parkour pretty much we're gonna use, and we're gonna finish at that point at that time. So thinking at least that we'll leave the time for the police to organize themselves all around. We're gonna go peacefully. They even organize themselves to have street medics, that are guys with a white t-shirt and a red cross, that are regular citizens, that are nurses or doctors, all of that, that on their free time are there on the streets, helping all the wounded, the people losing eyes and this and that. These guys are incredible. They even organize themselves so that they can have security, meaning yellow vests that will surround the protest and make sure that everybody keep compact, nobody breaks anything, and they just go peacefully. It's always the same thing around 4 o'clock. Normally the protests finish at 5. Around 4 o'clock, they're stopped a mile before their final destination. They have a block of police in front of them. The police have ordered each section to block streets. Now, they don't know what the other groups have as far as orders. So, like last time, the Champs-Élysées was completely blocked, and when the people were going to a street, the cops were like, no, you're not allowed to pass. They said, well, there is no other exit. There was not. It's impossible. They should have left an exit somewhere. Well, what happened, we realized that in the command center, obviously they have give a command to every section to block every street and leave no one. No one could exit the place whatsoever. And then you have the tear gas start to be thrown at them. And of course, first they're upset because they cannot go further when the whole protest is declared and it's legal. They cannot be stopped normally. You're supposed to be able to walk free They're stopped. Then they're upset, but they're okay. They try to discuss with the cops and say, "Hey guys, you're yellow vest as well. Maybe your wives, your mothers, your daughters might be in the protest as well," which is mostly the case. And then, of course, these guys, the cops don't do anything, and then suddenly an order is given, and out of nowhere they start to throw tear gas, and that aggravate the people. They say, okay, not only we don't do anything, but now you aggress us. So then it started the whole violence, and of course all the cameras are there to capture everything, how the yellow vests are so violent. So it seems so clear more and more that there is definitely it's not specifically on the police level, but on those who are commanding on the high level. There's some instruction given to literally create a situation create tension that shouldn't be there. So the video I've sent you, it's one of the leader, the most peaceful, a real teddy bear. I'm not joking. That guy is a plumber. He'll say, guys, I'm a humanist. I don't want any violence. All I want is people to just have, bread and be able to work. We understand we need to pay tax, but there is there's a level of tax. If people can, all they do is work, and by the 15th of the month, they cannot even live and, buy food. That is getting ridiculous. So all I want is fairness here. I don't want violence. I don't want anything. I want things. I believe that things can be changed without violence. So they arrested already the two others once or twice. This guy was most of the time very, very quiet, talking very nicely and keeping everybody calm. And here he sees these violence happening around 4 o'clock again. It's like, here, see, there we go. Once you see now again, they're blocking the protest. They don't allow us to go further. And I heard, he says in French, well, I heard that the black blocs are in the front right now and they're fighting the police. And he says, I'm going to go there and grab all my friends' yellow vests, pull them out of there because I don't want them to be caught and be wounded. While he's going over there and taking his camera live, his cell phone live, and just recording and asking, a few guys, hey guys, go in the back, make sure, you leave that place because it's getting a little too wild. You see a group of police coming. They see him directly. They shoot a grenade to his foot, like literally with these TNT grenades. And while the grenade explodes, there is another guy looking at him and shooting directly in his eye a rubber bullet. He was not doing anything. It was on video, so that was a big mistake because he's known to be the most peaceful. Everybody loved him. Okay, he called the yellow vest his family. It's just a sweetheart. That was a big mistake because when that happened, it happened live. Thousands of people saw it in the same time, and that enraged everyone. That was a proof right there. They don't hit people that are violent. They hit anyone they can, specifically the leaders. So the government is in big trouble now because they cannot explain that. That went worldwide viral. So the last protest now, that guy came through. They decided, okay, what we're going to do, we're going to put all the wounded people of the last 11 weeks, we're going to put them in front. So we wanted the world to see what Macron is doing to his people. And you see, it's sad, like you said, these kids, 20 years old, no foot, no hands, no eye. It's sad, grandmas, grandpas, not violent people, obviously. And then the black blocs were around and they start to fight the security of the yellow vest. And the word was spreading that they were looking for that guy, Jérôme Rodriguez, which is, why would they want to go after him? And they wanted to grab him and beat the crap out of him. So they had to literally extract him as fast as possible, put him in a car, and remove all the leaders as fast as possible before they got attacked by the black blocs. Now, why would the black blocs go after the leaders? Who is giving them these orders? Who are they working for?
Well, it's interesting you call them the RoboCops.
Yeah.
And we wonder if, this kind of military doesn't seem very, um, they don't seem very human. They seem to be insensitive, deliberate, and a serious lack of compassion. They're not
Well,
allowing them to do their peaceful protests and elevating it deliberately to probably thinking that they're going to end it, but instead of it's aggravating, and the people recognize that that they're going to extremes for a reason, and they have everything to lose at this point. They backed them up against the wall, and so they have no other choice but to continue on. But the cruelty that they're enduring, and they just want to survive. And we've seen this play out in other nations. I'm not saying that the French are the only ones going through this, but it's a perfect example only because we can talk about it, but also recognize that this is a universal issue that humanity should not have to be dealing with. We know that there are other players in here, and I say other players, non-human entities. I always that Dionysus clearly, he's kind of a thorn in all of our side because he is interested in revelry and party and his own illusion and perversion. And so when that gets disrupted, everyone has to pay, and that's why my request is that he gets sent off planet. Now, the mockery of it all is using Macron as his puppet. And Macron, this is the type of, it's kind of like this attitude of a snake, that he was saying that he was a yellow vest too, or something like you were sharing with me earlier.
Yeah.
And we can laugh
There's a few
about it,
things.
but it's just like how much of a weasel can you be,
No, he was saying that if it's about having fair pay and and this and that, then I'm a yellow vest too then. And people were puking, literally like, wow, how far is he ready to prostitute himself to just have the people loving him again? Because he is addicted to people looking at him with love. And if right now the biggest problem is that we discovered that nobody knew Macron 5, 6 years ago. I had no idea who this guy was. All the politicians in France were in politics for 20, 30 years. So, they had time to work through and getting people knowing them and what was their, their ideas, plan, agenda, whatever. This guy, literally, while all that was happening, was working for the Rothschild Bank. He became, in a few years, I call that, sorry, he was working for the Rothschild Bank as an inspector or something like that. But he became very quickly, in a few years, on the top level. So he was so successful at all time, never, ever, ever met failure in his life. Then he became minister of President Hollande, and just before he became President Hollande, he became his minister of economy, Rothschild, interesting, just saying. Then after that, they were like, okay, we need to have these guys. This guy needs to be president. That was his dream 20 years ago, by the way. There's an interview that shows that. He wanted to be the president of France. When they asked him why, he says, because president in a democratic country is like being a king.
King. That's
So
what he wanted.
already, yeah, the king,
That's
right?
Dionysus speaking right there.
Right there. He talks about himself as Napoleon.
Yep.
He refers himself pretty much to Napoleon or Louis XVI. That was the latest
Okay.
one 2 weeks ago.
which is like he's saying this about himself.
Mm-hmm.
The only one he hasn't admitted to is that he's Dionysus, but he's saying he's Napoleon. He's saying that he's Louis. That was
Jupiter too.
Oh, he calls
Jupiter.
himself Jupiter. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which is Andronicus, so that's not true.
Well, we know that Dionysus took over Jupiter, and
true. That's very true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also, there's the Apollo, who Dionysus calls himself, but he's actually Apollyon.
Yeah.
The one that, and Abaddon is another one of his names. So
here is what's interesting, Jess. I discovered. Hold on, because I have a car. Okay, so I was wondering how did he, because I saw the whole election from far away, so I started looking more into how it really happened in 2016 towards 17. Well, the plan was Attali, which was a man that's connected to every government pretty much in France for the last 20 years. It doesn't matter the president in charge, he's always around. Was his mentor literally from 20 years ago. So he was pretty much groomed to have that position of being a president one day. The problem is that nobody knows Macron. Nobody knew him. So they had to do a whole strategy was in place using the queen of all the medias that you can find, like People Magazine, Us, and all that stuff, right? You can find it at the gas station. We have the same in France. That lady will never have an article published. Nothing will be published without her consent. So she met with that Attali and another guy and said, all right, we're going to put together a whole strategy. We're going to bombard literally the media left and right with how wonderful they are, how loving they are. So Macron and his wife on vacation, Macron and his wife at the restaurant, Macron and his wife. I mean, it's like every week. So the people start to pretty much feel like Macron was part of their life, right? So repeat that lie over and over and over, it becomes a truth. So it was very easy after that to manage the elections to a point where they have pretty much got rid of all the real pretenders, and to a point where only two were left. You had Marine Le Pen, which is like a Trump version of in France, and him. But of course, the media, when that happened, bombarded that woman as an extremist. She is racist. She's fascist. She's the whole thing. The whole game. So of course, everybody were like, well, I don't want to vote. 55% of the French people voted white, meaning they didn't vote for any of it. They only have 12% of the people that voted for Macron. But by law, the white votes always go to the majority, which it was him.
Now, so white votes have to do with, it has nothing to do with race, right?
No. White votes. It's you give your bulletin, your vote, and you say, well, I don't scratch any name, no name. I just give it as is. So you don't vote.
All right. Literally. So there's no marking. That means
no marking.
That
Sorry. Yeah. I have to be careful with the white thing. I think I'm a racist here. Thank you, Jess. You're right. So it's a translation from French, vote blanc. So they said, well, the people voted for him. And now the Yellow Vest said, no, only 12% of the French people voted for him. But the problem is that because of the 55% that didn't really vote for anyone, because it was the choice between the cholera and Ebola. That's how they say in French. It was really bad. Both choices were bad. So he became president. And in his mind, everybody loves him. Well, the problem is that he was very successful for a very long time. Everybody praised him everywhere in European community. And now with the Yellow Vest, it's the first time in his life that, well, people don't like him. And tell you the truth, they hate him. It doesn't deal really well with that. So instead of to, like anyone else, be like, okay, guys, let's sit down, let's see what I can hear you, and then we can work it through. He's acting like a child having a tantrum, clear in his mind that these people are completely crazy because there is no reason to not love him, that he did nothing wrong, and now he's starting a whole campaign to recharm the French, telling them he's Yellow Vest, he understands them, he take his vest off and, turn his, his sleeves, pretend to be like a regular guy, told them, I know what it is. When I was a teenager, I had $1,000 a month when I was a student. Most of French people say €1,000 a month as a student. Gosh, we didn't even have that. So, he tried to play the guy that's part of the people, but, everybody's laughing because he's a joke. So there was some specialist and expert that says right now we can see truly his psychology is literally like a teenager that never grew up and always loved the attention, the love, the support, but he deals really badly with rejection. That I thought was very interesting to see the whole thing. So
right,
this
and
is why
that's
they say we don't
playing out, right?
That's Dionysus right away, right?
Yeah, needing to be loved and adored. I mean, that's what they live off of is that louche, and it's throwing him off balance by this whole protesting. He wants to end it, but it's giving him another type of notoriety where he maybe perceives this as a way of getting international attention, in
Well,
that he has the people kind of, he's managing the people, or maybe he feels that he's doing a good job. I don't
well,
know.
no, no. In the world, I mean, a lot of people are mocking him right now. Say, wait a minute, this is the country of human rights. What the heck are you doing to your people? I mean, you were supposed to be the superstar that will save the world and save this and that, and here you are making a mess that pretty much can destroy Europe as well, the European community. Now, the whole European community is supposedly crumbling. Even Soros gave a message, a speech a week ago, saying, "Well, if things goes that direction, I mean, and it's not looking good." Now, is that part of their plan or not? I don't know. But it's okay because they already have the solution. We know already who's going to be the next president after that because, of course, she's the only one on the media everywhere day and night, and it's the one that lost against him. So they're already getting ready the one that will replace him.
What is her name?
Marine Le Pen.
Le Pen.
Marine
Yeah.
Le Pen. And thing
Unless
is,
they bring someone else in out of nowhere, which they're really good at doing that.
yeah, I know. I know. They even have a,
Another well-fitted, prepared puppet.
yeah, well, no, that one's going to be obviously the one that they're planning. The system, the power in place is
Yeah,
pretending,
they've
to
groomed
bring
her
as a
for that.
solution. But
Yeah.
she's going to doing the exact same thing. I mean, it's part of the system. This is why the yellow vests are apolitic, meaning they don't want to participate to the system that's in place when you have to vote for one. They don't even want to have a party, a political party. They don't want to. There is one yellow vest that decided to be part of it, like that Jacqueline Moreau that did that Facebook stuff. They started a yellow vest party for the European election, and 99% of the yellow vest says, nope, we don't support that. You never ask our permission. You cannot use our name. If you want to be part of the system, good for you, but we don't want it. So
So
I don't know.
then they will default back to the white vote, as you mentioned.
But that's for the the European elections. We
Yeah.
have,
Okay.
have the French election, the European election that's in May. So now I want to say something else about the police, if I may, just a few minutes. Um, the police are as on some level as well as victims as the yellow vest. They are played, and here is why. The the unions of the police, the leaders of unions of police, start speaking, and these guys, by the way, have a lot of trouble now with government and all that, because they start to say the truth. They said, well, these guys are working 17 hours a day, have an apple, a little bottle of water that's so small, I mean, three zip and it's gone for the whole day. They work 7 days a week. They have no rest. They are not paid overtime. They owe them millions for the whole police in France, millions of euro of overtime. They work for 1,200 euro a month or $1,200 a month. They are exhausted. They even have to use their own money sometimes to buy masks and stuff and this and that. I mean, it's really bad, and they never have a day of rest. And they said most of their partners, their wives and grandmothers, and are in the yellow vest in front of them. The problem is that by law they cannot, for example, refuse to follow an order. Otherwise, they can be pretty much trialed, and a lot of stuff can happen to them. So they're trapped. And themselves, they're exhausted to a point where I guess when they see these black blocks or whatever, you know, hitting them, throwing, I'm talking about, it's not stone, it's literally what you find in the street, these pavements. I mean, this is crazy. So, I mean, they're exhausted. So at the end of the day, this is why Jerome Rodriguez was saying, I don't want the cops to be hurt. I don't want the LOS to be hurt. We need to understand that both of them are victim of a government that don't care about their police. They don't care about their police at all. They are pretty much using one against each other, and because that served their agenda, divide to conquer. So this is why the government is really afraid that one day the police might be like, well, and there are some bad apples in there, believe me, there are. We've seen a few of them, but they reach a point where they feel trapped as well. So I want to be fair here. I mean, I don't say that. I know that there are some Robocops in there and some beings, obviously, that have no heart, and they love that. And there's a specific group called BAC, B-A-C, which is a specific group of police that are sent in the wildest place in France, and literally when no one wants to go. They're literally cowboys, and all they do is violence. Well, the problem is that they give to these guys too, since everyone on the territory of France that has a police badge needs to be, ready for the protest. They give some guns and tear gas to these guys. You should see these guys in action. They don't care. There is a video. They drag a woman that's just standing there. They grab her by the hair and literally pull her on the street by the hair for at least 500 feet. It's just, when you see that, you're like, of course, all the other people around are pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then people could get aggressive. So all these aggression, for me, the only really responsible for that is, of course, government, and for me, of course, Macron, and I'm not afraid to say it. That's exactly who is responsible.
Here's my thought. Enough with the violence against innocent people that just are have a cause, and that is a cause to survive, a living wage, enough to care for their families. And so it's for them to then further be oppressed in this way. Let's ask for an intervention. I'm going to ask everyone that's listening to join us in this divine intervention to assist with whatever the problem is, whatever is obstructing. And like the black blocks, the word the block, it keeps standing out to me, just removing any blocks and obstacles, and rooting out whatever entities are there that should not be there, that are feeding off of the pain and sorrow and trauma of the French people, and have been perpetually putting the French people through very serious issues throughout history, over and over again, and oppression from the same beings. And if they are naively opening the door to some of these entities, then that would be, their eyes would be open, so they would not participate in that activity anymore. And oppressions from whatever, if it's the religious, political, in government, or even the EU, or whatever impositions that are coming in, that are just making the decisions, like Soros, trying to impose hardship, heartache on people, humans who are divine. They're all divine. They don't deserve to be treated this way. So those that are violating universal laws, the laws of the earth, the laws of the galaxy, and the laws of the universe, presenting them to a higher court and asking that they get extracted, rooted out, and that the people, the humans, will have a chance to thrive and survive here in a kinder and a more loving environment. So I ask that everyone join with that intention and surround the French people with love, protection, that no more innocent people get harmed, and that there's an awakening to the truth there. And any other exterior group that's trying to interfere, that they are rendered helpless, harmless, null, void, without any power whatsoever. And so shall it be.
That's beautiful. And there's one thing I just realized now. You know, I was thinking maybe to put some videos, and then I realized maybe, you know what? I don't know what you think about it, but I don't want to put any videos that might be, you know, showing violence and all that, because you see that everywhere. I came across yesterday a video that's it's pretty much spreading into between Yellow Vest, and it's a translation of the speech of in the movie The Dictator that Charlie Chaplin does. And
Yeah.
I think it's such a wonderful message. It's such a beautiful message. I was thinking if we can maybe, you know, put that one as a link on the bottom of this report. I think if people listen to that, there is so much. I mean, it's so beautiful. There's so much love, and it's so true what he says, especially when you relate that to the Yellow Vest. There is some portion in there that for me are. It was it really gave me goosebumps when I heard that. It's a very positive message. People need to hear something positive as well.
All right. Well, Charlie Chaplin, believe it or not, is in this October 23rd list.
Oh gosh.
It's an interesting way to end this. In 1952, Limelight is, I guess it's one of his film premieres, directed, written, produced, and starring Charlie Chaplin and Claire Bloom, with an appearance by Buster Keaton, one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Funny.
October 23rd, 1952, Charlie Chaplin. I love The Dictator is a reminder of all humanity that we are not machine men.
Yeah. It's a beautiful message to humanity. I mean,
It is.
To reclaim their freedom and to not play the game of the system anymore.
Do you know what year that was? I mean, he generally was not in talking films.
No.
You know, I heard and Rolf mentioned, for someone who didn't talk very much, when he did talk, it really said a lot.
Oh, yes. So I don't know. I was very sensitive to that message. I think it was something that I needed to hear too. And I was very happy that the French people are spreading that information to each other, and they put the Yellow Vest picture, you know, and image on the speech. But I think it's kind of powerful. So I don't know. I don't know if you feel that it might not be a good idea, so you might not do it. But
I think it's a fabulous idea, and I think this is a great way to end. We came full circle on the October 23rd.
Yeah, I know.
I think we're good. I think we got the message across.
Yep.
But people can understand that these things have levels of entanglement. Nothing is just a snap of a finger or that easy. We didn't get here by accident, and you can see the whole history of events. Take a look at these links. It's just going to blow you away. All of the things that we're concerned about, even football, baseball events, musicians, and other things happening around the world. The same problems in the same area, the same issues, same interests. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, it pretty much touches every aspect of life. And today, by the way, we do this report, and there is the Super Bowl going on. Maybe
Super Bowl. That's right. Mm-hmm. Another October 23rd connection where we see things about football. Yeah. What was the? Let's see if I can find one real quick. And no. Green Bay Packers play the first game over in Minneapolis, 1921, October 23rd.
They're not playing in the Super Bowl, right?
No.
That would be okay.
That would be even a little crazier, yeah.
I know. Oh man. Well, I really want to wish to everyone that's listening and those who might listen later a wonderful evening, a peaceful and restful evening, a wonderful week, and everything's gonna be all right. We will have a freedom. We're getting there.
Yeah, people have to awaken.
Yes.
That humans are humans. We've all incarnated. There is no such thing as race or nationality or anything like that. And I'm not promoting a one world order here. I'm just saying that there's a common thread that we all are part of this existence here on the planet, humankind.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to express it as well as Charlie Chaplin in that movie, because that was so clear. I mean, it's perfect. That would be a perfect conclusion. But thank you so much, Jess. Thank you so much for inviting me and sharing this with you.
And thanks for
very nice.
And thanks for being willing to share a little bit of your personal information that adds to this strange phenomenon that we found in some kind of weird time slip, or a quantum entanglement of the phenomena of October the 23rd, touching and reaching through time in different years. And probably there's more that happened in the past 1,000 years, not just the past 100 years. So anyhow, thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate your insight and also your research of keeping us up to date what's going on. See this as a platform for the rest of the other nations, that this is something that needs to change, setting our attention to help the people of France right now, and then as well as the people around the world that have been oppressed.
I agree.
Thank you
everyone
so much for listening, and thank you for many of you that are supporting on Patreon. We appreciate your help very much to keep all of this going and allow me to have the time to do the research and keep you guys up to date with latest insights. So have a great night.
Have a great night. Bonsoir, mes amis. À bientôt.
Bonsoir.
You have been listening to Androna Talks Radio. Join us on YouTube channel Jessica Errol Morocco and visit her website at www.readingsbyariel.com.